Alright everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome back to Forging the Game. On today's episode, I'm just going to go over the first 3-hour session that I have planned out and the first battle maps that I've got done. And kind of what I'm assuming is going to be like the first plot hook into the adventure in the Shards of Eternity setting. And the first adventure is going to be called Time in a Bottle, with a overarching theme of time raiders coming down and invading the world that the heroes live in. But that is not the first plot hook into the adventure. The first plot hook is going to be intrigue and diplomacy and politics. So we went over last time. I developed 3 parts of Bastion, the starting city for the players, and that is the Gilded Quarter, Collective's Reach, and the Undying Throne. And then for the adventure, I'm trying to get about 3 battle maps in each of those districts, and for each session, I'm setting on about 5 scenes overall, with one of them just being an intro and one of them just being a montage. So the other 3 are going to take place on battle maps. And the best way that I've found to really set this up is in Google Sheets linking to Google Docs. And then you can just use Open Preview right here, and I can just read out my dialogue, or at least the descriptions, and then the dialogue, and then you can always improvise off of this when the players go off of the script, as they undoubtedly will. And I also wrote dialogue specifically for this first party because I know what some of their characters are going to be. So I have dialogue that's specific. I just titled it up here specific dialogue because I'm going to be referring to the characters directly. Like we have a Polder Fury and a Devil Tactician. And the generic dialogue is fine just to run or to refer to in the future if you run it for more players. So the adventure is going to start with the players going to the Auric Tribunal. Now, the Auric Tribunal is this map, and I just snagged these offline. It's probably some famous map maker that did a really good job because it looks great. And then I also made an image right here, generated one for the outside of the Auric Tribunal. As I do the description, I can bring this up in the codex and describe to them the building, and I can bring up the Google sheet on another screen, or I could just overlay it over this and I can go through and just say the Auric Tribunal looms before you, a grand hall of cold authority and measured wealth, yada yada. And I'm going to have the players come in here, and there is an encounter in here with the Shadowed Fist, the guard of the Gilded Council, but they're all hidden off the map. This is not meant to be a fight. This is meant to be an introduction, like they get their quest here, but you never know when this fight's going to happen. Eventually, it will be a fight that they might not have to do, but it could be a fight eventually because there's a lot of gray motivations here. So I wanted to make sure I had everything set up for a fight, and so I have custom tokens. They have this cool spider guy. These guys are going to come from the hallway behind if it does turn into combat, and they all have like pulling. I still need to upgrade some of their tokens. That's what these leftover tokens here are for, with a rules update that came out. Anyways, these guys will like pull the party back, and these guys will like push the party away, and they kind of guard the council members up here, which I just have them all in their robes. These guys are just like 1 health NPC minions. They're like rich guild leaders. They're not combatants really. But the party will get their quest here, and I have Isolde Varendale, the counselor of the Carpenter Guild, start talking and tell them that Bastion stands on uneasy ground. The balance between our districts frays with each passing day. Trade suffers under rising tariffs. And they're going to send the players from here to the Hollow Quay, which is this map, where they'll be going into the next district to get information and perform some diplomacy. And they have to go across this Dragon Knight and Kobold border patrol. But to get here, once they leave, they're going to be tasked with carrying some supplies. They're going to be escorting a merchant that is supposed to have healing potions, basically, for the Draconian Legion as a peace offering, and that is going to start a montage. And I have a montage, which I've set up here, where they are attacked by a Brassborn Stalker, which is just evidence of the decaying ley lines and the world and the demonic entities trapped in the world coming out in the Brass Ward as they travel to the Hollow Quay. They're gonna have to guide the cart and the merchant across a crumbling path through a shortcut. And the merchant will begin singing loudly, and they'll have to quiet him down. And then street ruffians will try to toll them by a blockage. And then I have everything here on what happens if they fail or succeed. And this is, it's all guidelined at the end of the day. But their goal is that this is going to be a medium montage. Everything's a medium difficulty. So that means like most rolls are going to be success with a consequence. Like an 11 to 16 is this result. So they barely make it inside the quay, but the Stalker's heat warps the cart's back wheel, slowing future progress. Something like that, and escape this brass demon that chases them through the montage before they arrive at the quay. And when they do arrive at the quay, they go into scene 3, which I have, a description here. You roll onto a weathered stone road that stretches along the edge of the quay. To your left, a broad canal flows silently. And then I'll put them out here, and this pack horse is going to represent the cart and all of that stuff. And the underlying issue here is that one of the montage scenes, I really wanted the montage to have consequences. So one of the things that happens in the montage is, I think it's number 7, something smells, is that they can find and fix the stowed explosives in their cargo before they get here. And if they do, they could use them in the fight, or they could just try to negotiate their way through. But I really want this to be like the first combat. So while I like to have multiple solutions, I do feel like a lot of the players are not going to want to talk through everything, and they're just going to want to fight some stuff. The cargo, it's kind of deep. The cargo is stowed there because one of the counselors is a Time Raider in disguise. So the montage will affect how much health they have here. Let's see here if I have here's the outcomes. Right here, the cart is at full stamina, which is only 10 health, which is ridiculously low. But it could be 5 if they get partial success. Here's the moderate montage rolls here. So 19 to 20, success with reward. There's all the complications they face and a little outline. But the encounter strength is going to go up by 6 for every stage of failure. Not only does it go up by 6, but they also lose cart stamina. And now that I think about it, maybe this one is fine to leave at 10 because it's already really low. And this is like basically one hit will kill the cart and they will fail. So the way I'm doing this is Draw Steel has a way you can get extra victory points if you add an additional objective during combat. So this is basically an escort mission, and they just have to get to the cart to these squares and start up here. And if they fail a lot, I'm gonna replace one scale tooth with a death rex, and if they fail really badly, I'm gonna add a corrosive pool on the party that their chemical explosions blow up. And then these guys will also have known about them, and they will set up a spike trap. So I would just put the trap rules for now right in here. It's a level 2 spike trap, and underneath the horse, I can activate this. It looks like the light is not working anymore, but this is how big their corrosive pool is going to be. And then I have all the rules up here. I don't know if I'm going to give the enemies the fire to detonate the corrosive pool. It's already pretty devastating. But you could always have the bad guys blow up the pool and you get an extra little explosive reaction here. But this does like 6 fire damage and then they burn. So they basically instantly lose the extra victory point there. And I would like to at least try and let them get the cart a little ways before trying to target it. The way this is set up is where it's supposed to take 3 rounds for the cart. to make it 24 squares. So that's all based on the cart speed, which is 8. And if they make it there, then they survive. The kobolds are going to be like hiding in ambush, but these guys are blocking the path. Here's the extra Vethidarax I can switch out one of these guys for if they get the tier 2 version of the encounter. And here's also the spike trap and explosive reaction. I just threw on a token that I hit on the map. And so I can just click here and roll. Yeah, I can just roll one of these to trigger the damage. And yeah, this will be like the first encounter. And so I want to award like 1 victory point if they do the side objective above whatever the combat would normally entail. So if you look at the rules, it's like not often are they getting another victory point. Oh, here's the map maker here. I just put it off the screen for the players because it helps immersion not having this text on the map. It's just kind of distracting during the game. Eventually, I would like to have custom tokens and maps made for this module if I ever try to sell it. I'm going to have to. If I ever want to sell this as an adventure or a setting module, then I feel like I would have to get custom maps made. But that'd be cool because we could also use the verticality and all of this stuff. Here's all the invisible walls I put in so that when people push people into these things, that they will actually take damage inside the engine. I think it's like 1 damage for every extra square you slam them through it, and then like 2 damage extra if they don't break the object, something like that. It should all automatically be done if they shove people into the right things. And a big part of what I was focusing on for this first episode is kind of like setting up the players in a world where, they're trying to interact with the environment and give them a sense of the politics going on, giving them some role play opportunities. And I think the biggest help just to run this all is all of the text that I have beforehand. And that's just, like I said, I just have this one link page, and it's just going to be so easy to run if I just open these previews and I can just read from the previews a good amount. It's also much better if you prepare it all. So like in the scene 3, I have Dragon Knight specific interaction because their Dragon Knight players reveal themselves or their allegiance to the Undying Throne. The Brute acknowledges them directly. He narrows his eyes at them, nostrils flaring. Ah, legionnaires returned from the Gilded Hive. Like these guys view the Gilded Quarter as a hive of insects. The greedy merchants are there, and I also have like some additional outcomes and like a quick reference table to try to run this if things go off track. There's a lot of optional stuff I put down here because they're going to arrive and then they're going to get inspected. And then if they find the contraband, which is like the explosives, it's combat. And then they're going to tariff them for crossing the border of the districts. And if they pay and there's no contraband, they're suspicious, but they let them pass unless they get paranoid. And so like if I really feel like as a director, if the players really want this to be in combat, but they did everything correctly to have it not be combat, they could still be paranoid enough to escalate it into combat anyways. And then I just have the general dialogue down here. And if they make it past this encounter, they make it into Ashenhold, which is like the main city space for the Undying Throne district. And this one I set up with a secondary objective of complete the action, which is to complete the investigation. When they get here, I'm going to describe the scene as a bunch of merchants being publicly executed up here. They have a kobold that's been burned here. Right, so they're going to try to figure out what's going on, and then I have all this description in here on these little notes on the map. And once they get to step 2, they are going to get attacked by undead. So I have a massive amount of undead here, shades and all stuff. And the point is that we're trying to incite them to investigate quickly under pressure. So it's got to be kind of a feeling of being overwhelmed here, even though these are all minions, except for Ghost Daddy, which is I put up here. So if they do all the investigations, they're going to get 1 victory point, but if they want to stay and fight, Ghost Dad will show up. He's the leader of all the undead here, and he's pretty burly. He can do 7 cold damage with his ranged attack. He also can like levitate somebody up into the atmosphere for the rest of the encounter if their presence is less than 3, which is pretty ridiculous. Pretty strong boss there. But so for like fairness of this encounter, right? Same with the last one and all of the encounters really, is you want to start the monsters at least 5 squares away from the players. So all these are 6 squares. You could even move these guys up 1, right? None of the monsters are going to be within 5 squares of any of these objectives, at least at the start. So I gave him a pretty good room here. And then so that's like at least 1 rounds of movement away so the players have a chance to reposition and there's some tactical. I'm not going to just spawn the monsters on top of them, right? I feel like that's not sportsmanlike and the rules suggest that in a lot of cases. So what the players have to do is use their maneuvers to make different types of investigation skill tests around here. They don't have to pass them, but if they get more information, if they do, and I really wanted these to have benefits later on also. So where I know if you do too much of this, the players could cascade down really far or like do so well that there's a big variance in play group to group. So I am wary of having their prior failures and successes dictate the future too much, but I don't think it's that bad because I have this affecting the starting of their negotiation with the king of the district right here. So he could be open, neutral, or suspicious, which are like the 3 most neutral options. And this again is what I've basically taken this from the montage test, right? Whereas like the way these are supposed to run is 8 checks in total, and then if they fail 3 times, it's over. So if they do 5 and 3, it's over, and they succeed. 4 and 3, partial. 3 and 3, total failure. And so I just put that down here, and then failures in the combat encounter are a little bit different. You only fail not based on how good your check is, but because I didn't want these to have to matter like that, but you fail if you don't do them on the round I tell you to. So that's going to be a little hard to play out. Like the zombies have to be literally destroying evidence. And if you don't get to the evidence in time, the zombies will destroy the evidence while they try to kill you. So that's the only way it makes sense to me to play this out, using all the rules and actually having it make sense in the game to the players, is that the players see a bunch of evidence of what happened here. They start to investigate. They get attacked by undead, and then the undead, by mishaps, start to destroy all the evidence. Just by trying to get to the players and attack them. So the way the rules have it is that they have to do 2 checks. I put them next to each other for 3 rounds. So they're going to do these 2 before the combat, and then 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. They have to do during combat. 2 of the players have to use their maneuvers on that square, and it doesn't matter if they pass or fail. They just need to get there and do it, and then it'll be considered a success, which should be pretty easy to do. I think it really depends on like how much I hold their hand. If I just tell them, hey, you have to use your maneuver here, that's probably going to be pretty easy to metagame. But if I say, hey, the zombies are walking towards the burned note on the ground to get to you, I don't know, maybe that leaves some ambiguity and they could fail a little bit easier. I don't expect this to be super hard, but if they want to stay and actually get another victory point, they have to kill Ghost Daddy along with cleaning up all the zombies, and that will be a pretty difficult fight, especially after just having come out of the last one. But they will have more victory points here, so actually they'll be stronger, but down on recoveries. So I don't expect either of these combats are generally very hard because I'm used to only running like 3 encounters a session, and draw steal assumes that you're going to run like 6 or 7, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm making every encounter much more difficult because I'm assuming that the that's all we're really going to get done in a session, and I feel like you really have to cram stuff together even tighter with the way everyone's schedules end up. It's just not really feasible to run 7 or 8 encounters and have the players waylay everything until they get to a boss encounter, unless you're like going extremely fast. And I don't assume the players are going to go extremely fast. I assume they're going to do a lot of role playing while they're in combat also. So that's basically this encounter. They do some eavesdropping, some investigating, some sneaking out, and then they get to the Shadowspire Keep, which I think I have. I think this is the Ashenvale art. Yeah, this is the Ashenvale art. Not super good considering this road is like dirt and that road is a stone road, but whatever, like I said, I just took maps that looked good off the internet. So this is the negotiation. We get in here, and this I just set up the king of the undead, the Undying King is just a dragon, which I made human size. I just took a dragon token and I renamed all his stuff so that it says king instead of dragon. And I made his token a little bit smaller so that he can fit on his throne. And none of these other guys are going to help him. They're good. They're just there to present danger in the in the negotiation that takes place here. They're just going to, they're a setting piece. They're not actually part of the combat. The king is going to fight them alone if it turns into combat. And so what I have here is I wrote the dialogue based on the opening differently. So if they come in and the dialogue is open, neutral, or suspicious, I can just start from here. Strangers with gifts, strangers with truth, strangers who expect my trust. You insult me. And he will start off on a bad foot there, and that's because when they went through their investigation on the map before, they failed a bunch. And it's not a huge difference, but it will be more likely that this turns into combat because they only have so many tries to negotiate. With the patience system in negotiation, their interest starts off at a different number, and I don't even think I have that written down anywhere. I'd have to go in the rules. So I should probably write that down somewhere. Yeah, I did not write that down. But yeah, you're going to want to write that down so you know how many interest and stuff the negotiator has in the negotiation scene. But I have quite a few options ready to go and potential responses. And then, so the way the negotiation works is they either have a positive or a negative or impatient response. Whenever the players make an argument, they make their roll. And I need to put some more of the rules on here for sure. But I just put their opening disposition, the responses to an argument, like things they could say if the players increase their interest, decrease their interest, or just decrease their patience. So if they have no effect on interest, that he'll say something like, I have ruled longer than you have drawn breath. I have no need for riddles or drawn out musings. Speak plainly or be silent. Something like that. And the final offers I have, so they're here for one of the runestones of Accord, which are in this district is the Obsidian Ward, a Obsidian tablet of great magic. But they could also get a Dragon Knight retainer for the party, or they could get just the ward, or they could get just the Draconian Legion and not the ward, which would be really bad. Like if they get a no, if they get the interest is only 2 or 1 or 0, 0 is just combat. And then I don't think they're likely to die, but They will have to. I mean, they'll probably get they'll probably get everything they come for if they win the combat. One of them will probably be crowned king and get a title. You know, new king of the Undying Throne. It's just like a power play. This is the strongest dragon knight. That's why he's king. And in the lore, he's got like a magic crown that like sucks out the souls of people to increase his lifespan, so he can't die from natural means. That's why he's the Undying King. And so one of the players can grab that, and I'm pretty sure I gave him like a magic adamantium greatsword that that like kind of goes along with the crown and helps sucks out people's souls. Pretty sure what I was going with. I haven't written down many magic items yet. That'll come later. I've just been trying to get this locked up. If and they could also get to combat if they get a no. They could also get to combat if they get a no, but the Dragon Knight retainer, and they say, no, dude, we need the Obsidian Ward. You're going to die. You don't want to listen, bro. Like, we're going to fight you to the death. And this is like, you know, killing a king and negotiating with a king is like something probably a much higher level party. If you had like a longer campaign, you would do. But this is 10 sessions, 10 3-hour sessions. This is a whole story told in 30 hours with a group of 5 people, right? The director and 4 players is how I'm setting this up. And if you had more players, you would have even less time to go because everyone's going to want to role play and everybody has to take their turns. You just don't have a lot of time to tell a story. So, you know, they set up the rules in a certain way where they assume you're going to play the game for a year or two. And at most, I'm planning on playing the game for 2.5 months with the same group because that's just it's just more reasonable, especially when you're playing online. Everybody's got lives and stuff. That's basically episode 1. You know, there's a lot of dialogue. It's taken a long time. I think what took me the most amount of time is finding things that make sense for Ashenhold. Like getting this combat to flow is going to be rough because I had to make really good descriptions for this area and try to like lure the players to investigate because I want it to feel as natural as possible without pulling back the curtain and saying, hey, make these skill checks in these squares or you get failures. But I might just tell the players that that's what they have to do if they really are not engaging with the descriptions of the areas and getting the hint. But yeah, so this one took a long time, but the Hollow Quay, I keep thinking like this one is just too hard. If I actually try to attack the horse, there's no way they're going to be able to do it to get the extra victory points. So because this thing only has at max 10 health according to the rules, which I think is ridiculously low. But I guess that leaves all the power in my field where I can attack the players equally. And once the horse looks like it's going to get away, like it's getting like halfway there, then I can have the NPCs start to target it so they can potentially stop them from getting that extra victory point, like at the last second, which is a little bit more dramatic. But yeah, I think it's basically the first episode of the adventure for Time in a Bottle on the Codex. And I didn't use any of the terrain editor stuff because it just looks so much different than the battle maps that are so well done. But it doesn't look bad either. So there's definitely maps you could make yourself. But I feel like I'm doing so much effort into writing and conceiving a story, the whole story, and like all the connecting plot points that I don't care about the maps. Even putting these invisible walls in is too much work for me because I really want this to be a story that the players play beginning to end with the same group and everyone gets to the end of the story in, you know, 2.5 months in a reasonable amount of time, playing once a week, and they can feel good about getting to the end of the story at the end, you know, at the end in a reasonable amount of time because it's just so rare that that ever even happens. You know, most of the games I've played in are one shots or somebody wants to do a really long term thing and the group just breaks up for one reason or another. So eventually I will be looking for artists for like some PDFs to sell for this, and trying to. I'm gonna need art for the PDFs. I'm gonna need art for custom maps. I'm gonna need art for custom tokens. And once the module store is up for the codex, I'm gonna put this on there as a module. And then I think there's like Drive-Through RPG and some other websites where I could just sell the PDFs for the setting and adventure. If you wanted to run it in your home game, I haven't thought about partnering with a mini making company or anything to sell like a box set. That sounds like you'd probably have to have some more investment into it. But if the online sales go well, that could be a possibility. I'm still fairly far away though, but this is just one adventure, and it hasn't been play tested yet or anything. But hopefully that gives you a little look behind the curtain on kind of how I'm using the codex and setting up my draw steel adventure for a virtual tabletop. Let me know if there's anything else you guys are interested in. I'm just kind of spitballing here. I took a little break there. We had a huge winter storm in my area, so hope this was a intriguing idea sparking look behind the scenes. And check out my other videos on the channel. I got League of Legends guides and some Witcher 3 content, as well as the first video in this series that I go more over the setting and kind of my ideas and writing for like the world that this takes place in. And I will catch you next time on Playthrough Pulse, Forging the Game.